Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited that this is our 10th video. Can't believe that we've already hit 10 for the Summer 2020 series for the Lee County Ready for College initiative. Today's video is slightly pivoting away from kind of like that high school experience. It's definitely meant for students that, once you're done with the college admissions process, what do I do after that? And so that's kind of the subjects that we'll be touching today. So with that, we'll go ahead and start with intros. So Laura, do you mind going first?
Yeah, so my name is Laura Brummett. I am a business journalism major at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and I'm minoring in history and studio art.
Hey everyone, my name's Chandler. I'm a senior at the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. I'm double majoring in economics and Spanish.
Okay. And hi, everyone. My name is Steven. I'm a rising senior at Duke studying statistical science, sociology, and German. Oh. Kate, did you introduce yourself? Oh. Kate, I don't think we got that.
Yeah. Oh, I can go again. I'm Kay. I'm studying elementary education with a special education add-on, and I go to NC State.
Thank you so much. And so the first thing that we're going to talk about.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Elementary education with a special education add-on.
Okay, everyone. So we're going to be talking about, I guess, transitioning. So Chandler, can you talk a little bit about more like as soon as, you're done with, or you just got your acceptance, you just enrolled, you just accepted everything. What should you do? Because I think a common mistake is that students think that they're done with the entire admissions process.
No, I totally get that. I've been through this when I was a senior in high school. I paid my deposit. I was ready to go. But the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get your college email and password. You're going to want to check that email every single day. There's going to be a lot of files that you're going to have to turn in, such as immunization records. You're going to have to turn in a final transcript. You're going to have to sign up for housing. So just monitor that email. Make sure you're not missing any deadlines and make sure you're getting all those files in because that will keep you from going if you're not doing so. Next up, do not let up on your grades. Colleges can and will rescind your acceptance if your final grades do not reflect the student that you were before. I've seen this happen to people. I've seen people get senioritis, which it happens to the best of us. But my best advice for that is to stay motivated, stay involved in all the activities, same activities as before, keep those grades up, and try to see the bigger picture. Everything you're doing in high school is going to build who you are professionally in college. So just see that bigger picture. Colleges can and will take that acceptance away. So just keep that in mind. Don't let it scare you. Just try to maintain the exact same level of performance as before. It's only fair to the university that accepted you. And another piece of advice is start connecting with other freshmen that are going to your same university now. Go ahead and start looking for a roommate. Go ahead and start connecting with your peers, making friends. There's a lot of groups on Facebook and on GroupMe. This kind of transitions into my next topic of housing. Thinking about housing and roommate situations early on, having a bad roommate can really, really hinder your first year experience. There's a lot of Facebook groups and GroupMes to find these roommates, just like I was talking about before, and really try to find a roommate that reflects your interests and goals. If you're someone that doesn't, that kind of likes to keep to yourself and study a lot and doesn't like to go out and stuff, make sure you're getting someone that reflects that interest, because if you guys disagree and you guys are fighting all the time, that can really take a toll on your academics. So really try to avoid going random with your roommate, because I have had a bad experience with that, and I know other people have too. So just really try to make that a priority, because having a good roommate can really, really shape your college experience. That can be your first friend, can be a study buddy, etc. When shopping for your dorm, make sure you know the layout of your dorm, what comes with your dorm, if your dorm is going to have a kitchen before you buy anything. because you don't want to buy anything unnecessary. Some things that I bought for my first dorm were a microwave, a mini fridge, a lamp for my desk, and a shower caddy if you're going to live in a dorm that has the shared showers, and you're going to want to buy shower shoes if you're sharing a shower with anyone else, just to avoid athlete's foot or anything like that. Do not make the same mistake as me and spend way too much money on your dorm. You're only living there for a year usually, and you want something cozy, but you don't need to spend $1,000 decorating your dorm. Just don't do it there. You can go to thrift stores like Goodwill, and you can find everything you need and more. You can buy almost everything secondhand, and a lot of things, if you find your roommate early on, you guys can split. I would highly suggest like buying stuff like the coffee maker, the microwave, the fridge, and stuff at Goodwill because it is so much cheaper. Next, think of how you're going to get to class. Does your university offer a bus? Can you walk from your dorm? Go ahead and start. You can look on Google Maps to see how far your classes are from your dorm. Your cheapest bet is to take the bus or to walk rather than commute because parking passes are extremely expensive and gas can get really expensive too. So keep that in mind when you're deciding whether you should live on campus or off. But most universities are going to require that you do live on campus your first year. When it comes to dorms, hall style, that's the shared bathrooms with the whole hall. Those are typically your cheapest, but it's kind of up to you whether or not you're willing to do that. So after freshman year, once you're not required to live in a dorm, I would highly recommend living off campus. It's your cheapest option, and it's a lot easier financially because you can cook for yourself rather than having to purchase the meal plan. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Chandler, for all those things. I know we try to condense it really quickly because we're covering a lot of things today, but I mean, honestly, that first year roommate experience is such a big like game changer. I know for me, crazy story, but I had 3 different roommates my first year. I moved 4 different times. The whole situation was just crazy, but it is super important to make sure that you find that roommate if your school like has that policy to allow you to pick a roommate, because schools like Duke actually don't. They randomize your first year roommate. You don't get a choice. It's crazy. Yeah, not a lot of people know about that unless you're going into it. So it's important to look at your school's policy on how they accept like roommate choices and things like that. So next, we're going to move towards the first year mindset and just kind of the general layout of like how you should be thinking as soon as you begin your first year at college. So Kay, can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure. Okay. So I am going to be talking about grades for your first year mindset. So the first thing I will say is to stay on top of your grades. A lot of financial aid and scholarships depend on your grades. If your grades fall or get to be like a certain, if they fall or get too low, you could possibly lose your scholarships or financial aid. So making sure you stay on top of that is very important. Also, sometimes whenever you let your grades drop too far or too low, it's really hard to pull them back up. So like one class may only seem like really small, but it could have such a big impact. Also, just a reminder that your GPA starts when you arrive. So the classes you take as a freshman will be on your transcript until you are a senior. And a lot of the classes you take your freshman year will be general ed classes. And these classes usually prepare you for your future and your other classes that relate to your major. I'm not sure if you guys can still see me.
Okay. Yeah, I think, some of that advice for like students, it is super important to know exactly like, you know, as a first year, your GPA does start when you first get onto campus. You really, really, really do not want to go in with the mindset of like, okay, I finished high school and now I'm here. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna do all those things that you see on movies and TV about college life, and that really isn't the experience that you should be going into the mindset with and going about making sure that you're being successful at college. So I guess Laura, can you talk a little bit more about like you know it because it is frustrating, especially if you're going to a school where you don't know a lot of people. You're going to be meeting new and different people from all over, the world potentially. So how do you establish yourself in this new community?
Yeah, definitely as a freshman coming into a university, no matter whether it's a big or small university, it can definitely feel intimidating. So the first thing you want to do is find friends, find people that you can talk to, relate to about experiences. So the best way to do that is by joining clubs, groups, communities on campus, those sort of things to help meet new people who might have similar interests as you. So don't be scared to try new things. Go to as many interest meetings as you possibly can. Join as many Facebook groups as you can. If you don't have a Facebook, go ahead and make one because so much in college is about Facebook groups, Facebook pages, that sort of thing. So go ahead and make a Facebook. If you don't like a group that you try, that's okay. College has tons of different communities, so many different clubs about the weirdest things, the most random things you can find at pretty much any club. And if you don't find a club that fits your specific interest, you can always make one. So you have plenty of freedom in that in college. And also, don't feel like you have to find your group right away. So take the time to kind of feel things out. A lot of people really rush toward Greek life as being the community that they want to join, which is okay if you really want to do that. But I would suggest really knowing what you're getting into. I've met a lot of people who rushed their freshman year first semester and really regretted it. So there's so much more outside of Greek life in college that you can join, so many different communities, clubs. Really look at things that you're interested in outside of school, things you're interested in inside of school. There's all kinds of different things. So for me, I had tried a couple of different clubs and communities my freshman year. I really spent the year trying to fill out a couple different options for me. Nothing really fit at first. There were a lot of great groups that I found, but nothing was really like right for me until my sophomore year when I actually met someone in class. And so I had got really close to them in class. So that's another thing, another way to make friends is by class. Talk to the people that sit next to you. But I met this friend who was involved in a professional business fraternity on campus, and I got to know this friend really well. And so I decided, well, if everyone is like this guy in this fraternity, then it's probably a good fit for me. So I went out to their interest meetings and their recruitment and really loved it. And so that's how I got involved into my community on campus. So it didn't happen right away, and that was totally okay. It was definitely worth the wait for me. So definitely don't feel pressured to join things right away, but there's definitely no harm in trying things out. So again, like I said, you can meet people anywhere, classes, dorms, work. Friends can come from tons of places. A lot of my good friends have come from my different jobs. And yeah, you can also talk to people in classes, like I mentioned, even if it's just to help with questions about the class. You might can see their face on campus, and have somebody to wave to, smile to as you walk past. So definitely put yourself out there in terms of this. But like Stephen already mentioned, it's not the most important part of college. Still, you got to keep your grades up, but the community is what's going to make you feel at home when you come home to your dorm at night.
Yeah, no, those are some really, really good things that you brought up, Laura. I think especially, for us, like we've been in college for such a long time, we kind of forget that feeling of like when you were first year, you're like walking around, you're like, I've got to find my class, I got to make sure I'm not late, I got to find a good seat. And then you're just like, okay, it's so intimidating because you're not used to that environment where it's a bunch of people like, voluntarily showing up to class in that sense, and then you get to meet with them and everything like after class, and do those icebreakers, which become annoying as some of the years go by. But yeah, Chandler, can you talk a little bit more about like, specifically networking with peers and upperclassmen?
Yeah, of course. So just to piggyback off what Laura said, talk to the people in your classes. Like my freshman year, I was so shy. I'd sit in the back and not talk to anybody. But once you like make that first conversation with someone, like you make a friend, and then you never know what that connection can get you down the line. So my advice is to talk to the people next to you and get their contact information, get their number. I actually had an experience my sophomore year. It was my first year at UNCW, and I decided I was going to be more social because my freshman year I wasn't social, and I made a friend in my class. All I really knew about her was her name and her major, just like we made small talk. And she texted me a few weeks later saying, "Hey, aren't you a business major? I know of an internship, and you should apply." And then I ended up getting the internship. And because of coronavirus, it's like one of the only internships I'm going to ever get to have. So it's just crazy. Just from me making that small effort, I got an amazing opportunity out of it. And now we're really good friends. It's just, that's what doing something small like that can get you. So don't be afraid. It's really intimidating at first, but it gets so much easier. And no one in college really cares. Like we're all there to get our degree, and everyone's usually super comfortable talking in class. So you should definitely do that. And another big piece of advice that you should take to heart is to download LinkedIn. Do it now. Connect with, if your parents are on there, connect with them, connect with your parents' friends, any peers. It's like a social media platform, but for young professionals. It's a great way to build yourself outside of your resume. And about 95% of recruiters use LinkedIn as a hiring tool. So if you're going to be looking for an internship anytime soon, you're going to want to have that LinkedIn profile and at least 100 to 500 connections. You're going to want to start building that as soon as possible. It's something I started doing my freshman year, and it introduces you to so much you probably would have never found otherwise, internship wise and just mentor wise as well. Another thing, do not be afraid to ask your peers for advice. I would really suggest like trying to make friends with some upperclassmen, or just talking to some upperclassmen and having their contact information, just so you can ask simple questions like, "Oh, where is this building? Oh, where are the best places to eat?" Because they're going to know it better than you, and they're going to know it best. A lot of four-year universities, maybe even some two-year universities, I'm not sure, or two-year community colleges, they offer mentorship programs for freshmen and transfer students. I'm actually a Tilbridge mentor at UNCW, so I mentor incoming transfer students, and I have a lot of mentees that ask me the simplest questions. They're simple to me because I have experience, and for them, it's just like they're new to this; they don't know. So really take advantage of those programs. They're obviously free, and it's free resources and information that you wouldn't have otherwise. And it's just someone you can text and be like, "Oh, like, how do I get to this building?" So almost every college has something like this, and you should definitely sign up for it if you're a freshman or if you're going to be transferring to a four-year university in the future. And lastly, it's always great to have friends while in college. It's a really big adjustment moving away from your hometown and going to a new place. So it's really nice to have friends that really reflect your interest and your goals. You are a product of who you surround yourself with. So just make sure you're hanging around with people that reflect your interests, and don't be someone you're not. And really just people that are going to keep you motivated and that are going to offer you a great support system.
Oh my gosh. Like, I wish I could like repeat that like 5 million times. Like, literally, like who you surround yourself around with will make such a gigantic impact, no matter whether it's in your classroom, it's in your dorm room, it's, extracurriculars that you're doing. Like, I don't know. I feel like you'll naturally be tended to want to hang out to people that like you want to be more like, but also at the same time, you should be exposed to as many different people as possible as you can. And I also want to reiterate the thing about LinkedIn, like if you're applying for like some of these like jobs and companies and internships, like those small, like very, very important conversations that you have with someone, like Chandler mentioned, with her experience getting an internship, like that is real life, like real world things, like super, super small things that let people remember you and like make you memorable are going to be super important. And you're going to find those to be very valuable as you continue your college experience, especially when like, some internships are, only accepting like one person from this certain area in the entire world or something like that. I know that's a little bit too broad, but I can talk a little bit about that later. But yeah, and then on this last topic of like networking, Laura, can you round us out and talking about like specifically separate from like peers and upperclassmen, now with faculty, advisors, and those meant to, I guess, formulate your academic experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are fortunate enough to have an advisor, whether it's in your field or just at the university in general, definitely take advantage of that. Let them know exactly what you want to do, what you see for yourself, or even if you don't know exactly a general idea, they'll have a lot of good ideas and they'll know a lot of people on campus and both off campus who can help you. And then beyond that, or if you don't have an advisor, definitely meet with all of your professors. So it doesn't matter, even if they're not in your specific career path, meet with them. They will know people who are in your specific career path, or they can give you advice just about working in general. The more people in your network, the better. It can never hurt to talk to somebody, to introduce yourself to somebody, to talk with them about career advice or college advice, anything. It can never hurt. So have coffee with them, go to their office hours, let them get to know you as a student so that they feel more comfortable recommending you for positions in the future or giving you that introduction to someone in the future. I've had so many different situations where people have sent an introductory email to somebody on my behalf. And so definitely reach out to people in your field who you might have a connection with. So this goes beyond professors. This is like maybe alumni, people who might have gone to your school who are now in a career path that you like. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. They were once in your shoes too, and they understand. It can only help, like I said. And then, like Chandler said, add all these people to your LinkedIn profile. Everyone you meet in a professional setting, even if they're not necessarily in your field, they might not know someone who is, something might pop up on your feed one day that they liked or shared that actually does interest you. So definitely take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, no, I think yeah, those connections with your professors, with like, you know, individuals that are not even related to your major. Like for me, like when I applied to Duke, like I was an environmental science major initially. I'm not anymore, obviously, but I knew that I wanted to do something related to the environment. I didn't know what it was. I took this energy and society course, and they knew this program director for this thing that we had at Duke called Duke Engage, and it got me connected to working at a nonprofit, fully paid for, fully covered in Hawaii. And I thought it was, one of the most amazing, interesting summer experiences that I've ever had. And so I really, really, really do recommend get to meet every single one of your professors. It doesn't matter whether big or small, whether you decide to go back to their office hours or not, if you ever want to talk with them again, but definitely make it intentional that you want them to remember your name. And not only that, it'll also hold you accountable too. Um, so the last thing that we're going to be generally talking about during this video is kind of updating your resume and just keeping in mind that, while you're in college, you cannot waste you cannot waste your summers or whatever that means. You really, really should be actively thinking about, how do I continue my academic and career goals in the summer while I'm not in college? Because now at this time and age, recruiters and people that are trying to like hire people post college are making sure what did the student do this summer. So Laura, can you talk a little bit more about, I guess going back to the high school experience, like not a lot of people know what an internship is or what that looks like or when to even think about it. Can you talk a little bit more about just the basic structure of what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, I might ramble a little bit here because I can go on about an internship for a long time. Listen, I have accepted 5 different internships while I've been in college. One didn't happen because of coronavirus, but accepted 5. So would have done that one as well. But basically, internships are a way for you to learn more about a potential job field. And on top of that, they're also a way to show future employers that you're dedicated and hardworking and trying to better yourself actively. It's so important to show that you took time to think about your future, to work on your craft versus just sitting around and doing nothing in the summers or doing something that's not productive, even if it's not something that you necessarily know you want to do in the future, just getting that experience in any field cannot hurt. And it's never ever too early to start. So personally, I started after my freshman year. I didn't have any experience, so I started small. I went to the Sanford Herald, which you guys know in Sanford, and they didn't usually take interns. So I made up a position for myself and pitched it to them. I was like, hey, let me come write for you. Literally, I'll do anything. Just let me gain this experience from you. So obviously, there wasn't a lot of money at the paper. They couldn't pay me. So I worked out a way where I got class credit for it instead. So I got my start. I got this experience working in a real newsroom, writing articles that were on the front page of the Sanford Herald, and I got class credit for it. And it was my stepping stone. That was my first, foot in the door. And so even though that wasn't my dream job or necessarily where I saw myself ending up, that gave me the experience that I used as a stepping stone into my next internship, which was a real position at the News and Observer, which is actually, where I wanted to work, where I wanted to be. And so, like I said, I started early. So I was the youngest person to get that internship the next summer after my sophomore year at the News and Observer, because I had already put myself out there the summer before and done something already. So basically how I got that internship, just to, I guess, give a little inspiration to put yourself out there, was the recruiter, that editor-in-chief of the News and Observer, reached out to the Daily Tar Heel because she was a Daily Tar Heel alum, and gave out interview positions, like 5 interview time slots, to hand out to the Daily Tar Heel staff for people to sign up to interview with her. Unfortunately, the editors of the DTH all got to it first, so all the time slots were filled by the time that it came around to me, who was just a young freshman writer, or sophomore writer. And so I used one of my connections that I knew. A writer at the News and Observer had actually gone to school with my mom. So it was this random guy, I've never actually met him, but I was like, you know what? He knows at least my name. So I emailed him out of the blue and was like, hey, I know you don't know me, but could you please maybe send the editor-in-chief's email my way? I really want this internship. I know I can handle it. I've got this experience. I want to do it. So he sent an email to the editor-in-chief. I emailed her, showed her my experience, showed her some of the work that I had done, and she offered me to come down to the News and Observer office and interview with her in person. So one day, I literally skipped class for this. One morning, I literally drove down to Raleigh from Chapel Hill, interviewed with her in person, and I went in there with confidence. I knew I deserved that position, and I got it. So that was all because I had done the experience the summer before. So like I said, it's never too early to start. Put yourself out there, apply for things, even if they seem out of your league. So literally the man who I reached out to get the editor-in-chief's email was like, okay, but they don't hire people as young as you. They hire like seniors or older. And so I still applied for it, even though it seemed out of my league. And you know what? The whole point of an internship is to learn. So even if you don't know everything going in, you're there to learn. They know that. And yeah, even if you don't really know what you want to do when you graduate, if you don't have a specific career path lined up, take an internship doing something you might be interested in, and it'll give you a good place to start. By doing real work outside of college, you'll get a much better picture of what it's like to be in a certain career field. So these internships can be a great jumping off point. If you know what you want to do, if you don't know what you want to do, basically it can't hurt. The only thing that I would say to watch out for is unpaid internships. Try and get something out of it, whether it's like I did with getting the class credit out of it. And I know some smaller companies necessarily don't have a whole lot of money to pay you, but try and get some compensation out of it. I know it's really hard to get your foot in the door somewhere and ask for payment if you don't have experience, but definitely, your presence there is going to aid them in some way. So try and get something in return for that. But yeah, so internships, really important. Start as early as you can, do as many as you can. That's the gist of it.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Laura, for literally all of that like personal like experience and advice. I think like honestly, students like take this, like what Laura just said, and you just have to be, what's the word, like scrappy. Like you literally just have to do whatever you can in order to get your foot in the door. Like those stories that you hear like on social media, like on Facebook, like that, like do you have to do whatever you need to do to get where you want to go. And I think that's just general advice that you should get in life. Like do not hold back just because you don't think you're qualified enough. Like so I'll just briefly mention this before we go on to our last thing. Like I was interviewing for jobs like at like Facebook, Google, Twitter, like all these places, and I was just like, how is like a kid from Stanford, North Carolina ever going to get this type of internship? And as crazy as everything went, and I can talk about this more if you email me. I ended up getting an internship at Twitter as a software engineer. I was the only person from North Carolina to get it. And I think it's still crazy to think about that experience and how I was in San Francisco, you know, learning how to code, doing all these things. But I don't want to ramble on too much about this. Definitely email me. Just like check out our team page on Lee County Ready for College Initiative's website. But the last thing, Chandler, do you mind going over kind of, you know, that because there is a difference between a college resume and a high school resume. And I don't think a lot of students know that when they're, you know, beginning to apply for internships.
Yeah, for sure. Just to mention this like beforehand, internships, just like they were saying, like you have to be kind of scrappy to get your foot in the door. But a resume, attaching a resume to these emails you're sending people is a great way to like make a really good first impression and to like make sure that you're taken seriously. So that's why I just want to mention beforehand, you want to have a good college resume. And it is going to be different than your high school resume. So your high school resume is really geared toward academics and getting into a specific university for a certain area of study. Once you're in college, unless you're a freshman, you should absolutely not include anything from high school. You're going to want to really take your freshman year to build yourself professionally, to have things to put on your resume. You're going to want to include, obviously, your university, your GPA, if it's above a 3.0. You're really going to try, I know it's really hard as a freshman, but you want to gain some type of leadership experience. You can include any honors. I'm actually going to share my resume for you guys so I can provide like a concrete example as I'm going through it. But yes, do not put anything from high school once you're a sophomore in college. It is no longer relevant to employers or anyone really. Let me see. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna go over my resume a little bit with you guys. So obviously I included my education, my area of study, and then my GPA as it is above a 3.0, and then you're gonna wanna put your expected graduation. You don't have to do this, but you're going to want to include some relevant coursework. This can you can include any projects you've done in the class. You're going to do a lot of group work in college, so you can include anything impressive that might translate to something you would be doing at an internship or a job. You can, as you can see, where I put my intermediate microeconomics, intermediate macroeconomics, just anything that would translate to what your area of study would be in your internship. Any honors, any scholarships you received, if you're on the dean's list, internship experience, or work experience in general. I try to do things from most relevant to least relevant, or from most recent to least recent. So I try to keep my internship kind of near the top because I feel like that's my thing I have going for me for the most part. And then another important thing is leadership. So right now I am mentoring some students that are incoming transfer students. And I was also a marketing manager. So it's just like trying to find positions like that your freshman year can really help you because leadership experience will really set you apart from someone else. Almost every position you apply for is going to look for that. So if you're going to do anything, I would definitely recommend doing that. And then I know a lot of you might not have work experience, but if you do, it's a really good thing to put on your resume. And I don't have it on my resume anymore. But when I had less to put on my resume, I would mention that I was a successful student while working 25 to 30 hours a week during college because I find that pretty impressive. And I know a lot of other employers do too because it really demonstrates time management. And really I don't know what else to say besides you just really need to take your freshman year not to only focus on your grades, but to really focus on building that resume, because you're going to want to start applying to internships after your freshman year. I mean, it is rare that you'll get one your summer or freshman year, but you have better chances if you have a really good stacked resume to show for it. And if you guys wanted to add anything to that, any experiences, that would be great too.
Yeah, I think the resume, one thing to always consider is that it's always changing. It constantly changes, not only for the different type of position that you're applying for, but also like as you gain more experience, you have to update your resume.
Exactly. Yeah, my resume in my files, I have resume saved like literally 10 times. Like like 1 through 10 because I have so many different versions.
Yeah, exactly. That's important to mention. You will want to change your resume depending on the position you're applying for. And we have a whole video on how to make your resume and how to format it and all that. So for more information on the resume, check that video out. It's a whole 30-minute video on
it. Thank you so much, Chandler. And that basically concludes everything that we'll be talking about for this video. Obviously, we covered a lot of things on here, and we definitely would have wanted to have a more nuanced conversation about like, you know, internship experiences, especially because I feel like that's the big buzz that people think about when they go to college nowadays. But yeah, and just to lastly mention, like a lot of the times, you know, all of this information about like, oh, I have to do this and that and this and that. It is overwhelming. And especially we mentioned earlier about like gen ed classes or, you know, the type of major that I'm doing. And for some people, they might think like, you know, why do I need to do all these extra classes? Or why do I need to do an internship? Why do I need to do all of this when I could just go into the workforce or whatever and not attend college? And I think, you know, oftentimes it does come down to how, like, when people hear stories about they're not doing successful in college, it probably leads to not even thinking about that they should be from the get-go, your first year. I need to do this, this, and that so I can set myself up for success. And to make sure that you have a job lined up as soon as you're done with college, which is a thing me, Laura, and Chandler will definitely have to be, you know, thinking about as we are approaching senior year. And then Kay, it'll definitely be something that she'll be worrying about next year. But yeah, that's basically everything that we wanted to cover. Thank you so much, everyone. Please definitely tune in. We have 2 other videos this week. And yeah, that's everything. Bye.